Hello, and welcome to vlog number 7 of this book, The Religion of Self-Enlightenment, written by me, Emily B. Shalom. So far, we've found the story of a man who begins as a robot, a very uninteresting individual, and I believe he's going to change somewhat. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into chapter 2, where we find our character being described in his entirety. His emotional world was fragmenting like a melting sheet of ice, its pieces drifting apart with slow yet unstoppable certainty. He noticed, of course, and wondered why, but with the final blow of his eventual Georgelessness due to an argument, he lost his ability to talk to the one person who both spoke and listened in his life. He stopped talking to other people, and even stopped talking to himself. Instead, he ate his father's shepherd's pie, spent his mother's money, and argued affectionately with his annoying sister. But the silence crept on like winter into his young heart. Depression, suicide, ice. It was a teenage winter, however, and the season soon changed. He stayed alive. Relationships came and went. He just couldn't cope with them. He hurt people tremendously and felt nothing. Never explained why this was the case, even though they pleaded with him to. He laughed at their care they had to their faces, and then hid his insecurities behind a mask of sexual animalism and recognised the same in everyone and everything he saw. Sometimes he was unsure which was hiding which, the animalism or the innocence, and what there was to be ashamed of. He thought of his primal self with disgust sometimes, of the number of people he had slept with, and how he had lowered himself. At other times, he would feel an inexperience that would, he feared, destroy him should it be revealed and made open, and so he had to destroy this side of himself before it could have the chance to. Eventually, he became so insistent on denying his desires that the child within him shriveled and shed like a skin. Seeing only the human world, he subconsciously filtered every street and sky into categories of there and not there. And nature was alien. Only the human world belonged. He walked down a street and could no longer see trees to be climbed, the daisies ripe for chaining, or feel the wind begging for kites, for he busied himself with the maelstrom of influences from the world around him, scattered, bedraggled signs pointing this way and that, but none of them inwards. His inside, however, was where everything communicated to Carrick that was true and relevant, and so Carrick became untrue and irrelevant to the only judge that counts, himself. He no longer cared who he was, what he said, the acts he was responsible for, or the jobs he took. He just was, and made sure that he was not even that so far as he could. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to his conscious self, Carrick's time was up. The hands of his life's clock had turned their final circle, and in planning a dull, savage slide into old age and pointless extinction, he had unwittingly wasted his final hour in a bored contemplation of nihilism and some obligations for wives and children, which he could not bring himself to want and would not have to pretend to anyway. One night, in the autumn of his 29th year, as Carrick was driving home from work on a picturesque summer's day, he was aggressively introduced to the car that would kill him. There was not enough time between life and death to contemplate the journey, to bask in his successes and commiserate about his failures, to reminisce of childhood sweethearts unkissed, or to forgive and forget. He simply died. So that concludes chapter 2, and what we have is one dead protagonist. Da, da, da. Now this takes us up to the point where the reviewer for the most recent reviewer for my book he's got to about chapter 3 from the last communications that I've had with him, but his review is absolutely startling and my favourite review so far, if I can say that. I know people have called me like a cult sensation, a cult classic and this kind of thing, but this is my favourite. Wait for it. So this is a writer in America. Emily Shalom is a treasure. She weaves anti-patriarchal curses through networks of love even the government has no intelligence regarding. orgasmic beauty in her every turn as a wordsmith, the kind of book you can't put down, the love of God eternal. A sacred text, built on the foundation of love and light, a good excuse to read and read her often. Her emotions are simply for peace, in a land of ignorance and patriarchal motions to be put down by her innate love. The enigmatic motions for peace, the success of the Easter Rising, the matriarchy comes back here in the religion of self-enlightenment. The doctrine of heaven is more than enough to be led by Emily's beautiful prose. In order to fully understand the direction of her words, ask Patrick Pearse, ask any of the martyrs of the Easter Rising. We know that martyrs lead to knowledge and awareness within nationalist boundaries, effervescent towards love itself. And this is probably my favourite part of the review, so do bear with me, I've just got to get the page up. Okay, you ready? When people are aware enough to be led astray from dogmatic patriarchal curses such as ignorance and shift work ideology, the dick-led curses in Owens towards Leviathan slave curses, we will find ourselves thanking the author for our servitude and misnomer of time spent waiting to be understood, the genius of ages, love itself. I cannot put the book down, but can see the wisdom of the trees, the non-binary equivocation of thought and time eternal. A non-linear knowledge is evident from the writer Emily Shalom. True wisdom, not a government fallacy. No such binary equivocations from our slave masters and Leviathan controllers. Orwell references, though, and brilliant love incarnate from the author. Such inviolate frequencies of death, not at all. Inviolate spiritual resistance in a land of Tories, in a land of patriarchal Nazis, the love of God eternal. I hope I read that well enough, because it's quite convoluted in a sense. It's very articulate, and there are basically so many things going on there that I wonder about this man's perception of everything, actually, because he obviously comes from an attitude of attacking governments and trying to find spiritual purpose in the world, and he obviously has read a lot and knows his stuff, basically. And to have a review like that, I mean, that's like something plucked straight from my dream world. What's the best quote? I think it might be, the love of God eternal. And I'd like to think in this book there is the love of God eternal, and this guy's not a deluded, raving lunatic. And I would like to actually discuss something that's happened to me, which basically changed my life. And it was when I was with my Christian friend Christine, and she was giving me Bible study class by the river in Cambridge, and I went back there a couple of years later with my sister while we were walking, and she took a photo of me just chilling, just having a little moment where I had my Bible study class. And if you can see here, this is what resulted. I'm trying to get it so the light, so you can see. So that's me, and if you can see next to me, there's a figure of light in the waters of Paradise Nature Reserve, in this place where I had Bible study many moons ago. And that, basically, that photo taken from Paradise Nature Reserve, matched completely the image on the cover of my book, which was designed already. This image here, this figure of light inside an eye, and the eye in the front cover is supposedly the eye of the main character, and look at the chaos around him, around his core. It looks like an eye in fear, like wide open, and the book itself is someone who's got their eyes wide open to life, basically, and that's what the journey of this character is going to be. So stay with this book. I know he's died. He's died in chapter 2. So you're wondering where this is going. But take a deep breath and hold on for chapter 3.